Hi, welcome to part 2 of the two-part series on scams. In the last episode, we saw some of the most devastating scams, how they work, and how they're impacting the lives of millions around the world. In this episode, we'll take a look at how to spot scams and how to protect yourself. I also sat down to have a chat with a couple of scam researchers and a victim to get their perspective, so let's get straight into it. As we saw in the last episode, scammers have our online personal information from the dark web. Scammers use this information to make their schemes personalized and hence more believable. So knowing this, people should be cautious of any interactions on social media and also text messages, even if they include your name or other personal information. In summary, messages, emails, and ads containing links shouldn't be trusted. Never click on links within text messages, as they can take you to a fake login page that looks exactly the same as a legitimate one. Instead, go directly to the relevant website and log in from there. And also a note, even if the language is very convincing, be aware.
Think about a search engine meets a librarian and put them on steroids. So now you have these cyber criminals who can actually create these very well crafted emails that seem so convincing, and they can do deepfake video, deepfake audio, and photographs. That's why you're seeing so much more fraud.
Now with that said, let's take a deeper look into how to spot scams. Whatever the business interaction, when it comes to payment and there's a request to pay using an unusual method, such as a gift card or crypto, that's a major red flag. No legitimate company will ask for such forms of payment. So at this point, you might as well consider it a scam. If you ever receive a request for sensitive information such as a password or security codes in an email, text message, or over the phone, it's unlikely that this is legitimate. Banks, payment platforms, and government organizations will even have policies saying that they'll never ask for this information, so never give it out. For example, this is a statement from the Australian Tax Office, or ATO, which has been the subject of a wave of scams in Australia. Quote, "We will use phone, email, and SMS to contact you, but we will never send a pre-recorded message to your phone, threaten you with immediate arrest, demand payment through unusual methods like gift cards or payments to personal bank accounts. Insist you stay on the line until a payment is made. Phone calls from the real ATO will show up as no caller ID on your phone. If you're ever unsure whether it's really the ATO, do not reply. You should phone us on 1-800-008-540 to check." End quote. And that's a good policy. If you're ever unsure if the call is real or not, ring the source to double check. If you receive an unexpected call from someone who appears to be from a company or organization that you're familiar with, be skeptical. A lot of these scams will use the excuse that your account has been compromised and that they need your sensitive information to verify your identity and to keep you safe. This is a common tactic, and in reality, they're just going to use this information to get into your account and eventually commit fraud or drain you of your money. Another thing to watch out for is threatening messages or requests for urgent action through text or email. And then there's this golden rule. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. A social media ad, anything on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram, offering financial gain or an investment opportunity with no risk is surely a scam. When you read further into this investment opportunity, it's often going to sound complicated and packed with buzzwords. Doesn't matter if you see a favorite celebrity or social media star promoting it. That could be a deep fake, but even if it is real, they could have been paid a lot of money to promote something that they themselves don't even fully understand. It's happened before. I had a chat with Mark Andrejevic, who did some research into these fake scam ads which are plaguing social media. He had some interesting insights into why it's happening and why companies such as Meta don't take them down.
Anytime that you're being asked to engage in a transaction that sounds dicey, assume it's that little alarm bell that goes off that you're like, wait a second, is this weird? Or in the current environment, you've got to trust that first and verify everything before you engage in any kind of financial transactions. When bank transfers are being asked for, or when somebody is saying that, your bank is being hacked, always go to the source, go directly to the bank rather than rely on people who've called you. We came across a bunch of scam ads, and we're interested in the fact that it was really easy for us to find these ads, and it should have been very easy for the platforms to find them. Facebook, in some cases, says it's not violating their terms of services and community standards, but when pressed, they admit that they are. Facebook has so many of them, and if you go into the Facebook ad library, they're very easy to find. But of course, Facebook is making money off of these ads, right? There's a disincentive to take down any revenue source. Educating people about how scams work and raising awareness about them. That's super important. But it's a constant game of, trying to keep up, because as soon as people become literate about one approach, the scammers will have moved on to something new and innovative. And thanks to the development of some of these AI technologies, maybe more compelling, more realistic, more convincing, we may be heading towards an online ecosystem like that. We know there's so many scammers. We know that they keep changing how they work. The attitude that you have to take is one of a generalized distrust. You need to imagine that the scammers could keep coming up with new and original approaches.
Okay, so overall, those are some simple steps that might help you to make sure that you can spot a scam. But what happens when you get roped into them? Cathy Brennan was caught up in a romance scam that was devastating, but she turned it around to build an organisation that could help others. I sat down with her to hear her story and also some of her advice.
I belong to a group on TikTok, and this guy contacted me and he just said, I've noticed you a few times. We started with Google Chat and it became quite personal. It developed very rapidly into a romance. Within 2 months, he professed his love for me and he told me that he wanted to fly to Australia to meet me. I purchased a flight for him and he showed me the itinerary, he showed me his passport. Everything was above board. On his way to the airport, he was ambushed. In the end, the banks never alerted me to the amount of money that was going out of my account. The only way this came to a head was that he said he was going to repay me and he sent me through 15,000 Australian dollars. And he said, look, I'm sorry to do this to you, but I need that $15,000 back. But what I need you to do, the easiest way to do it is to go to the bank, withdraw the 15,000 in 2 lots of 7,500 each, and send them back in Bitcoin. I didn't know any difference, so I told the teller what I was doing, and she called the bank manager over, and he explained to me that it sounds like I was a victim of a romance scam, and I had lost thousands. What am I going to do? My life's destroyed. He became very, very quite hostile in the end and very threatening. By this time he had my phone number, he had my bank account details, he had my address, and he told me that there was going to be officers coming to my address and they are going to hurt you. I was at that stage where I was too scared to leave the house. I couldn't even go to the mailbox. It was just sheer terror. As a result, I thought, what can I do to help other victims of scams? And I realised there is nowhere in Australia or New Zealand, in fact the Southern Hemisphere, where people can turn to get help. And I thought, why don't I start Scam Haters United Australia and New Zealand? So I started that in March. I've been able to help 5 of the victims so far, and there is nothing more fulfilling and satisfying. And people have got somewhere to turn to now, so I found my calling.
Remember the pig butchering scams from the last episode? As a refresher, those are the scams that pose as innocent WhatsApp messages to you. They pretend to have the wrong number, and then they build a relationship with you and rope you into some kind of investment scam. I sat down with Will Jackson. He's researched pig butchering scams and has some further insights, as well as some ways that the problem's being tackled by authorities.
A pig butchering scam, it's a type of scam in which scammers get in contact people. Often, you get a missed call and then a text saying, oh, sorry, I'm after such and such. And then you'll be, that's a wrong number. Then they'll start to chat with you. And often it's an attractive woman from somewhere in Southeast Asia or whatever. Over time, they'll gain your trust and friendship. They'll mention that they're making a bunch of money through some kind of investment like cryptocurrency or something like that. They'll introduce you to the idea, get you to download a program and encourage you to sort of put money into it. Initially, it'll seem like you're making money off it, and they might even allow you to withdraw a little bit of money from it. But eventually, once you've put what they think is enough money in it, they'll sort of take all your money and it'll be revealed that the app that you've been using is fake and the whole thing was a setup. The most effective action against these scam centers appears to have been conducted by China, who have been working with governments in the periphery of Myanmar to arrest and shut down a lot of the scam operations there. They'll get shut down there and then move somewhere else. Talking to analysts and NGOs and things like that, they tend to think that this needs a regional multi-government approach. These are massive criminal organizations that are also involved in drugs and human trafficking and all that sort of stuff as well. So it needs a real multi-pronged approach. There seems to be some movement in that direction, but it's a pretty mammoth effort to get everything coordinated.
Okay, so let's move on to protecting yourself online. In a world where it seems that everyone is trying to hack and scam their way through life, how do we protect ourselves? In addition to what's been mentioned previously, here's a quick list of best practices. Number 1, use strong passwords. Change them regularly and never give them out. Number 2, use two-factor authentication where possible. Here's a former NSA hacker talking about the benefits of enabling this function.
Use two-factor authentication or two-step verification everywhere that you can. Your banking systems, Twitter, Facebook, all support the ability for you to enable an additional security feature that you may not know. If you go to your settings, it's in there. You can enable it, and every time that you log in, it'll register your computer, and you can then get a text message to go into that system as a second form of verification. And why that's important is because if a hacker gets access to your password, they still have to have access to your phone to get access to your account. And that's really important by enabling that specific security step. Probably number 1.
Use security software on your computer and make sure your computer's operating system is up to date. It might sound mundane. There was a security breach that was discovered in Windows that allowed hackers to enter your computer and steal data without you even doing anything. That's right, you don't even have to click on anything. They managed to do this through a Wi-Fi bug found in Windows, and it can affect anyone connected to a public Wi-Fi network. Microsoft has since fixed the problem, but to protect yourself, you need to update your system. As annoying as Windows updates might be, it's a stark example of why keeping your software up to date is so important. Another tip following on from the previous, even on your mobile phone, whether it's at an airport, cafe, or just out in the city, never use public Wi-Fi. Number 4, regularly check your bank account/transactions, as well as other financial services such as PayPal, ZipPay, and Afterpay. Look for any suspicious transactions. Number 5, regularly check your online shopping accounts. Number 6, keep your devices up to date, and this is to get the most up-to-date security. Number 7, report all suspicious activity to relevant authorities, as this can help others. Depending on the type of scam, this could be the Facebook platform, your bank, or even the police. On a macro level, some governments are providing some solutions. There's a system called Digital ID in Australia, which uses existing ID confirmation to verify who someone is, without oversharing personal information to a business. The main argument is that with less copies of your identity floating around in databases, there's going to be less risk of data breaches involving the theft of sensitive forms of your identity. If you do know anyone who's vulnerable to scams, please share this video with them so that they can be aware of what to watch out for and hopefully keep themselves safe online. As Mark said in my interview with him, there should be more responsibility on the social media companies.
In terms of solutions, it's going to have to be the platforms themselves policing themselves. It's much harder for researchers like us to track down all of these ads rather than the platforms seeing these ads as they come up through ad sales in their systems. We need the platforms to police themselves better. That has to happen. We need to provide an incentive for the platforms to regulate. And I think that means not exempting them for responsibility or liability for deceptive advertising that appears on their platforms. And once you have that type of a structure in place, then the financial incentive to carry those ads changes. You may make 50 or 100 or a few hundred off of every one of these ads that are served. There are millions of them, so that can add up to quite a bit of money. But if you're having to pay legal fines for carrying them, that changes the equation.
Okay, so that's about it from me. Make sure to watch the first episode of the series that goes over the different types of scams, how they work, and the extreme lengths that scammers will go to get your money. It's definitely a worthwhile watch. It may seem like a lot to take in, but there's hope for everyone. If you develop a healthy amount of skepticism and follow the steps mentioned earlier in the episode, you'll be one step ahead of the scammers. Being proactive is better than damage control. Okay, so this has been To Go for the ABC. I hope you enjoyed this series, and have a good one.